Today's review is sponsored by Pork Flakes, the only cereal that can spoil.
Watch it, Alan, I'm shooting.
Switchblade Sisters.
Hey, you little beaver punk, open that door.
Freeze, greaseball.
Let me introduce you to Jack Hill. He's not only a very underrated director, but in many ways he's a very important director. He just didn't get the credit he deserves until much later. The late 1960s and the early 1970s was when we started getting movies with strong, badass female characters. It started in 1965 when Russ Myers directed Faster Pussycat Kill Kill, which we will eventually get to on this channel.
I don't believe it.
You better believe it.
Of course, before that we had Wonder Woman, but that's comic books, and I'm a movie guy. Then in 1971, director Jack Hill began his string of tough girl films with The Big Dollhouse and The Big Birdcage.
You won't die from this bullet, Harry, but you'll wish you had.
During the making of these two movies is where he met Pam Grier, who he would later give a leading role in the movie Coffee, which is one of the best blaxploitation flicks ever made.
This is the end of your rotten life, you motherfucking dope pusher!
He also directed Foxy Brown, The Swinging Cheerleaders, and the movie we're talking about today, Switchblade Sisters, which many of his fans consider his best movie. Now, Jack Hill was hired to make exploitation movies, and when making exploitation movies, there are certain requirements: nudity, violence, sex, action, the usual food groups. But Jack Hill was able to work with these elements and create movies with tough-as-nails gals that kicked so much ass. The women in these movies were victimized, but they were not victims. They always fought back. In Switchblade Sisters, we follow a gang of high school girls called the Dagger Debs. They pal around with a boy gang called the Silver Daggers. Their leader is Lace, and her right-hand girl is Patch. The two gangs conduct the usual gang shenanigans: robberies, drug deals, fighting with rival gangs, beating the shit out of people.
What's the world coming to, girl? Get 'em!
But then they run into the new girl, Maggie, who's a bit of a live wire. Once Maggie joins the gang, things get messy. Lace's boyfriend starts taking a liking to Maggie. The other gang members start viewing her as the leader. While this is happening, Patch becomes the devil on Lace's shoulder, constantly feeding her paranoia and causing her to drift further and further into madness.
Figure it out, Lace. Dom drops you and you're finished. And you got 24 hungry females at your back, honey, and each one has a score to settle with you.
Eventually, the Dagger Debs separate from their male counterparts, forming their own gang and becoming a force to be reckoned with on the streets. And they change their gang name to the Jezebels. The Jezebels was the original title for the movie, but because there was not much success at the box office, they changed the name to Switchblade Sisters, hoping that would get more people interested in the movie.
You girls know what a Jezebel is? I found it the other day in the dictionary. It says, an immoral, shameless, impudent woman! And from now on, that's gonna be us, the Jezebels, yeah!
Switchblade Sisters reveals an issue I have with modern-day movie audiences. There are so many women out there that want to see more strong, badass female characters in movies, but none of them are watching Switchblade Sisters. This movie, along with Coffee and Foxy Brown, gives this audience the strong, badass women that they're looking for. But they're not watching these movies, and they should. These are great movies.
Is this jerk bothering you, Mr. Clutch?
You'll notice that Switchblade Sisters is first and foremost a B movie. And that being the case, there is a cheesiness to the film. You'll notice it in the acting.
Everything was great before Maggie came around. It's Maggie, ain't it? She ruined everything.
Everything was lousy. You were lousy.
But just because something is a B movie doesn't make it a bad movie. You're never laughing at Switchblade Sisters, you're laughing with Switchblade Sisters. The flaws in this movie add to the charm and in a way make it a more enjoyable viewing experience. Before we go any further, there's something that I think we should talk about. This is a great movie, but there's one problem that should be addressed. This is a spoiler, but it's a spoiler that I think you should know about before going into this film. It's nothing major, and it happens towards the beginning of the movie, plus it's something that I don't think should be in the movie. The main character, Maggie, develops a liking for Dominic, who is the leader of the Silver Daggers, and Dominic starts developing a liking for her. The problem is, Dominic is Lace's boyfriend.
I like you, Dom, but Lace is my friend, and I won't double-cross her.
Here's where things get fucked up. There's a scene where Dominic breaks into Maggie's apartment and forces himself on her. Now, because the two like each other, this doesn't lead to anything, and that's the issue. When you watch as many B-movies, Grindhouse flicks, and exploitation films as I do, you're going to come across movies that have rape in them. Not all exploitation films, mind you. In fact, the majority of exploitation films do not involve rape. For every one movie that has rape in it, I can name at least 20 that do not. But if you do get into this genre, you're going to come across this in movies.
So stop me from ripping off what I want like I did before.
You try that again, and they'll be picking steel out of your ass all the way to the hospital.
Just so you know where I'm coming from, I think you can make a movie about anything. When it comes to film, nothing is sacred. It's all about context. I have no problem with rape in movies if it fits the story and it's handled the right way. You have movies that handle it right, you have movies that handle it wrong, and then you have movies that have it for shock value, which can go either way. That's a little more of a messy territory. You have movies like I Spit on Your Grave, which handle the subject of rape right. It shows it as the horrible ordeal that it should be seen as. It shows it as the traumatic event that it is, if that makes sense. Then you have the B-movies where the filmmakers put rape in the film as a way to get titties in their movie, which is clearly the wrong way to do it. And then you have the ones that do it for shock value. There's a lot to get into there, and I don't have time to talk about it in this video, so we'll save that for another time. Plus, I don't want to hang on this subject for that long. Now, the scene in Switchblade Sisters should not be there. It doesn't add anything to the movie. It just makes you feel uncomfortable. The reason I still love Switchblade Sisters, despite this moment, is because everything else around this scene is so well done. It's so fun, it's so entertaining, it's everything I look for in a Grindhouse movie. I view this scene the same way that I view the animal cruelty in Italian cannibal films. This is something that happened a long time ago, and I can't really do anything about it now. We should not ignore that, but we should learn from it. Learn from the past, so we don't repeat the mistakes in the future. I do still recommend this movie to people. Just brace yourself for this scene, and if it's something you really don't want to see, then just skip past it and get to the rest of the movie because it's really good. But now, let's get to the badassery.
Get him! Yeah!
This is a movie about a gang of girls who essentially take over the territory and become the top gang in the area. Maggie is one of my favorite characters. She's fun, tough as nails, and doesn't take any shit.
The dirty trick you pulled on Patch. You're pretty good. What else can you do? Want to find out?
I love her attitude. She comes across as a leader without having to carry herself as a leader. One of her best moments is when she takes control of the gang from the guys.
You're a chicken. Say it!
I'm
Come on!
chicken.
Then you have Lace and Patch, the two villains of the film. There is a rival gang run by this guy named Krabs. They do provide a good secondary antagonist, but in the grand scheme of things, Lace and Patch are the real villains of the movie. Patch is the manipulator. She's pulling the strings from behind the scenes, trying to get Lace to turn on Maggie.
Damn it, Lace, open your eyes. She's nailing your man, and everyone's laughing in your face. You're just too blind to see it.
Shut up!
Lace is a tragic character. She truly loves Dominic, who sadly is a creep, and he's able to hide the fact that he's a creep until just the right moment. In a way, Dominic is yet another villain in the movie. Lace becomes more unhinged because of Patch's manipulation. Certain events happen that lead to her becoming the villain. If things were a little different, maybe Lace would not have been the villain.
You tipped off Krabs about the roller ring.
What could I do? He was treating me like a little gutter cat. It was all because of her. Just like you said!
These three characters are the soul of the movie, but the side characters are also well done. So many fun, memorable characters here. There's a lot of fun to be had in this movie. The shootout at the roller rink is a fantastic action scene.
All right, let him have it.
Switchblade Sisters balances all these different elements. You have scenes that are fun, scenes that are tragic, and some damn good action. It mixes different subgenres of exploitation together. You have elements of women in prison movies, you have elements of blaxploitation, all wrapped up in a girl gang movie.
Mao says don't waste time on personal grudges.
Yeah. What's in it for us?
You need guns?
We can always use more.
All this leads up to one of my favorite knife fights in film. What I like about this fight is it's not just fancy choreography. It looks like two people trying to kill each other. If you can't already tell, I love this movie. I love the characters, I love the action, and I love the all-around fun, gritty feeling. I do recommend people watch this because it's one of the first movies to depict strong, badass female characters. That goes for many Jack Hill movies. I also strongly recommend Coffee and Foxy Brown. But until then, let's get to the Grindhouse rankings. Since this isn't a horror movie and it's not really about the kills, the body count doesn't really matter. The kills mostly consist of gunshots and a stabbing here and there. As an action movie, this flick is great. The action is spread out nicely throughout the film with some entertainment mixed in between. It has that gritty Grindhouse charm. The movie has its flaws, but the flaws make it more endearing. We have a great main character in Maggie. She has a sassy, tough personality, mixed with charming and amusing. Lace and Patch are good villains. The tragedy of Lace becoming the villain makes us sympathize with her while Patch keeps picking at her sanity. It's an interesting manipulator-manipulatee relationship. The pacing is well done, and it leads to a great knife fight in the final act. The only problem is that one scene that should not be in the film. It's not something I can defend, and it adds nothing to the movie. I'm giving Switchblade Sisters a 4.9 out of 5. The only thing keeping it from a 5 is that one scene, but I still think this is a great movie for Grindhouse fans. I highly recommend it for folks looking for more badass women in movies. As always, I want to thank everyone for watching and supporting my channel. If you're new here, please subscribe and give this video a thumbs up if you like what I do here, or give it a thumbs down if you don't like what I do here. Leave a comment down below. Who are some of your favorite badass women in movies? This is the Maniac, here to remind you that the Grindhouse will never die.
You're a chicken. Say it!
I'm a chicken. Rooster, that is.
Sorry, I couldn't help myself.